This has been over a year that we've been doing this podcast. Welcome to the podcast. This is episode 26. Is that right, Azylem? You would know.
Yeah, 26.
26. So yeah, we got two return guests here. Objective Alpha, you were the first guest, unless you count Hermes, former co-host. Azylem, you've been here many times as well.
Yeah.
You're back.
Hello.
We're gonna have a conversation. I think Azylem, you just challenged us to trigger you, so that's my challenge in this podcast. I think we had discussed we're talking about aliens and book burnings, and I don't know if we had any Dero things to talk about. Maybe nonsense. What's up, guys?
Well, nonsense looks like it's coming together. Well, that's good news.
Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Oh yeah, it's happening. Whether I die or not, it's happening.
Whether you die or not, are you at risk of death?
Yeah, I'm exhausted.
Oh wow. You need more stimulants in your life. You drinking coffee?
Too much coffee. Yeah.
Too much. Well, when you hit too much coffee, that's when you need to take. You go up. You graduate to something like modafinil. There's only so much coffee you can drink, and then you need to switch to something harder, and you just keep going deeper down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's funny how that works. Like when you're exhausted, you drink more coffee until you burn out, and then to have more energy again, you have to stop drinking coffee.
Is that right?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Does the coffee at some point have a reverse effect?
Yeah, you just start getting burnt out. Can't wake up in the morning and that kind of crap.
I'm actually right now. I'm on the most caffeine intake of my life. Like this whole summer, I started drinking a lot of coffee, and I'm a little scared. I don't know how to stop because I tried stopping, and I felt so bad. So then I kept going again.
Dude, I'm grinding my own beans every morning right now. It's been about a solid, fresh ground beans, big bags, really real Italian beans, made by real Italian hands.
Some clap beans.
There we go. Yeah, maybe. Maybe that's just he's found a job. It might be in making coffee beans to send over to us.
You guys heard from him? I haven't seen him in a while. You guys seen him?
Seen him about what was it? Maybe about 6 weeks ago. He popped his head in.
Cool.
Just to say hello. I think he's on the old life's journey. I guess it's taken him places. I think maybe towards banking, I believe, if I remember correctly. I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah.
Apollo might not know this, but Alpha put butter in his coffee.
Oh yeah.
Baby.
I did not know that, but I put coconut oil in my coffee. You guys know I love cocoa.
About the cocoa. I tried that before.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could never get it to really mix in well. It would. I've moved on to just grass-fed butter.
Oh,
we have one called Kerrygold here, which is just Irish cows. They just eat grass. It's a very green island, and so I just chuck a knob of that in every cup. Delicious.
Yeah, for me, the coconut oil, it's like, sometimes I was having sort of like my stomach would feel a bit upset with the coffee, but the coconut oil just completely neutralizes it. I feel it's fine. It feels good. But I've never tried anything else. Have you tried like ghee? I've got a big jar of ghee here.
Nope, never. Don't even know what it is.
Oh, it's like butter. It's like I forget.
Oh, ghee.
Yeah, Yeah.
Yeah, it's some derivative.
Yeah, it's like thicker butter or like I forget how it works, but yeah.
They made it of vegetables?
No, heavens no. No, it's just like, I think they take more out of the milk or whatever. Like, I don't know. Do you know how it works, Alpha?
No idea, unfortunately.
Okay. No. It comes from a cow, but it's a different process, and I forget exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, so butter coffee, just a bit of animal fats, in the morning, just gets you going.
I'll give it a try. I'll try that tomorrow. Well, I don't have butter, but I'll try with the ghee. I'll let you know how that goes.
Nice.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what have you been working on, Alpha?
Oh, what have I been working on? Work. Beyond that, I suppose we're thinking about our non-census presentations, aren't we?
Oh yeah.
So as you can imagine, that's been on my mind. It's been in front of me.
Think I might just wing mine.
Not a bad strategy.
Yeah.
Well,
Throw a
I
bunch of
suppose
pictures and videos together and get up
Just
there on
ran.
stage and having no idea what I want to say and see what I'm mad about that day and talk about that.
Yeah, maybe you could write a script that just like randomizes slides, like just like produces random slides, and then you just press play and you got to talk about them.
Well,
but
there's so much
yeah,
shit. Randomizing it would be just as efficient, probably.
Yeah.
I think that is me speaking from a place of never having presented to a group of people before. I guess that is almost the idea of presenting. I suppose I'm posing that as a question. You just kind of effectively just giving yourself cue points to uh, set yourself off.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. Yeah.
I also wrote a few different articles and a few different concepts for, I would say, technical review papers, maybe more on a tangent from what a white paper would be expected to be. I've been reading over them the last week, trying to figure out how I could split up some of the stuff that he's written and get it printed so we could have it for flyers or some kind of brochure at non-census to hand out.
Right. Yeah. I suppose the idea would be just to let's say we'll use the what is Dero write up, right, Apollo? We'll that's just an overarching general idea of Dero and it's what it does with a bit of context as well. So maybe trying to find a way to put that into a leaflet, a little pamphlet to be able to dish out to people.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that idea.
What I like about that article that you wrote is you commented on how it's in your writing style and how that may not be neutral. I think that's actually preferable for that kind of approach because it's more personalized, and I like that.
Right. Yeah. I suppose. Yeah. Regarding the. I suppose that's a blog post I've done that yet to come out, but will come out. But yeah, I'm trying to write from my perspective, so I hope it's appreciated because I just it's you're trying to. I suppose there's a fine coming into the light like this. There's a fine balance between presenting yourself and curating what you put out to be more receptive to as wide an audience of people. So I suppose I'm in the process of just finding that out, and yeah, non-census is going to be forwarding, I think, the process of all of us growing in multiple ways.
Definitely.
Yeah, and I think as a shareable printed message, that's a good approach. So I might just leave it exactly the way you wrote it. Just try to get it situated on pages for print, sort of thing.
Yeah. So that would be nice. And with your kind of graphic design, it would look nice as well, no doubt.
Hopefully, we got a lot of. I did a bunch of vectors for the official website probably a year and a half ago, and I'm thinking about reusing some of those vectors. That would make the print look nice anyway. So yeah,
Yep, I agree.
what do you guys think about on Twitter lately? I know you guys are versed to social media and so like, but I'm noticing some interesting behavior. The more we talk about Dero to the people that are apparently looking for Dero or talking on parallel subjects, the more you mention Dero to them, the more they avoid it. Kind of interesting. I think they're scared. What do you think?
I personally haven't encountered this myself. I'm in my own little corner. I don't really, I don't reply to tweets very much, and
No,
so I kind of just see what I tweet and what people reply. So I'm not really on the front lines in that way.
kind of why I like that Bigfoot question you had because like, do you believe in Bigfoot? No, I don't believe in Bigfoot. Don't say I believe in Bigfoot. It's like one of those things.
Interesting. Well, since you brought it up, I would like to hear from both of you guys, if you believe in Bigfoot.
I no.
From me, I would say if I had to lean in one direction, because um, I have no knowledge of if Bigfoot is a thing or is not a thing, I would probably lean towards there being something
Yeah.
rather than nothing. I kind of have an outlook where things are um, in the perspective of mankind made for a reason. I don't necessarily always think things come up for no reason, and maybe this Bigfoot is one of them.
I think
But
things
I'm
obviously
never
aren't
going
what
to
they
know
seem.
until I see it.
Um, have we ever talked about Bigfoot before on the show together, Alpha? Do you remember?
No, we haven't.
Okay, good. I was recently, I made NFTs for each episode of the Dare to Dero Daily, and I used in the metadata whether or not Bigfoot was discussed, true or false. And I didn't
But
re-listen to them all. I just went off memory. I was just a little unsure about you because I know that you and I had talked privately a little bit about Lloyd Pye, which he really is what made me reconsider Bigfoot was his presentation. Um, so I would
I've
say,
watched that presentation.
yeah.
And I have seen it since then. So,
And
um,
what do you think?
when I said I would watch it, I said I actually did. So could you just give me just a slight nudge in the direction that it was?
Like a quick,
I've
like
got
sort of
so much
summary.
information in my
Yeah. So
because it wasn't a new concept to me. So just
yeah. Well,
yeah,
the Bigfoot thing. His take on Bigfoot was we have these records of like early hominids, like Neanderthals or whatever, right? He believes, that the origin of our species was from, the Anunnaki created us as genetic hybrids of themselves and creatures already existing on Earth. And those creatures that already exist on Earth, he would say is what we now call Bigfoot, or also what we call these early hominids. He says they're actually the same thing, that those records we have, those fossils or whatever, is actually Bigfoot. And that they were sort of driven into the deep forest when we started taking over.
yeah.
That's kind of the summary on that.
Well,
And I believe there's some talk about skulls in there as well.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, start.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, and with regards to the sutures in the skulls, which is very important. Yes, so the Sumerian tablets do exist, and translations do exist, and so it's at this point, and we get into the quality of the translation. But these tablets do exist; they are old and they are written. Beyond that, I can't really commit to too much. I would say it's a bit targeted to be able to say exactly what the early hominid species were, but I can say that the tablets do exist, translations do exist, and I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, doesn't take a genius to look at all this stuff and still think that things are what they seem, you know?
Yeah,
There's clearly a lot of shit we don't understand what we're looking at.
for sure. But did I hear you right?
But then this point is
sorry, go ahead.
To like try and make that understanding. That's what I love. That's where my energy is. That's why I do what I do. So I'm like a bit of a doer, right? Like if that's kind of the whole reason I wrote about encryption and obfuscation and stuff, because I came into here and I couldn't see it anywhere else. So I wanted to understand it, and if I can understand it, then you can understand it. And then it turned out I wrote it down. So yeah, I like that. I like that the tablets exist. I like that people dedicated their lives, like Zechariah Sitchin, to translating them. We are in no position to say whether the translations are accurate or not. So these are things I rely on. I rely on man. I rely on the fact that this man isn't lying. The work that he done is accurate. Because we have to put trust somewhere, don't we? And we deduce the best place to do it. So if I had to choose a creation, I would lean towards maybe that side. Anunnaki, whatever they are. See, we don't know. The tablets, I suppose the translation it's not necessarily, well, it's quite detailed, but it's deep, I suppose. I'm going to stop there.
And as Alan earlier, did you give me a flat out no to the Bigfoot question? I wasn't sure if I heard you right.
If the question is, do I believe that there's a tall, furry man in the woods that people are calling Bigfoot today, the answer is no. If the question is there some weird shit that nobody understands and nobody can explain, the answer is obviously yes.
Okay, fair enough.
And that applies far outside of the whole Bigfoot category too. So.
And Alpha, is there a version of Bigfoot in the UK? Like, is there folklore or anything like that over there?
Not that springs to the top of my mind right now.
Okay. Cool.
No, I would say not.
So, do you guys believe there's ghosts in the machine?
That's interesting. You know, one time, I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast or not. This was very strange to me. One time it was Christmas and I got Bitcoin sent to me. It was so mysterious. It was like an address that nobody knew. I don't know where it came from. And it was a good amount of Bitcoin. And it was just it was Santa Claus in the blockchain. It was just like, I couldn't figure out where it came from, or it was very strange. And I don't know, like, I mean, it's hard to really explain the story because I feel like when you hear that, you're just like, you know, so what? But to me, it just felt very magical. It was like, I really just tried to figure out what happened. And it really felt like just a gift from something. Like it felt like it was It's been really like a miracle. So
Like an amount more significant than a dusting attack.
yeah, no, it was like a good chunk of change. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. I still don't have an explanation for that. So that, I mean, that's just what springs to mind, because that was a moment where I was like, what's going on here? Is this like I don't know. It felt like it wasn't just like a person. I mean, I really don't know what happened, but yeah.
Well, I suppose, in a sense, I mean, it's easy to make a mistake and send stuff to the wrong address.
But is it? I mean, because it wasn't like an address that I had publicly or like any. It was just like no one had that address, and if you just pick a random address, I mean, that's like, that it's basically probability zero of, you know what I mean? Like,
Well,
I don't know. I mean, that's what I mean. It's so hard to tell the story because I feel like the natural response is like, well, there's just something you're not seeing, or like there's an explanation. But at the time, I really tried to find an explanation and I just couldn't find one. I was just like, this just feels like a miracle, a true Christmas miracle.
Had the wallet, before you received this gift, ever sent or received Bitcoin?
Oh, let me try to think. I think
so. Would it be on someone's spreadsheet somewhere that's mapping the entire Bitcoin network and everything that's ever moved?
I can't remember.
You mean everything on that chain?
And they decided to send a gift, and they threw a dart at the spreadsheet, and it landed on your address.
I don't know. This was a couple Christmases ago. I don't remember all the details, but I just remember it was it would have been Christmas 21, I think.
Peak bull run.
Yeah.
Wow. See, people were really generous peak bull run. They would just they would give big.
I mean, okay, yeah. I mean, sure. I don't know. I choose to believe it was Santa Claus, and he's a artificial intelligence living on the blockchain or something.
He's a cypherpunk.
Yeah, Santa the cypherpunk. Yeah, I don't know. Is that what you meant by ghost in the machine, or what do you have in mind? What are you thinking about when you say that?
Well, I'm thinking more along the lines of or all these things that we're building, kind of reflective of our species in a virtual way that has its own mind, kind of things like it does. And maybe that's the culmination of all of our behaviors on the internet, causing these emergent traits,
Yeah, when you connect all of our human behaviors together, it would seem like a thing, a living, breathing thing, just like in charts go up and down. I believe when you look at a crypto chart, or any chart, any candle bar chart, when it goes up and down, you're just effectively observing the psychology of the people involved with the thing.
Yeah.
Or
and it looks like a thing. It's doing something.
Well, the meta psychology of everything combined, which isn't reflective of any single person.
I saw this tweet today. I'm just gonna share it in the chat here. There's this. You guys know Scott Adams, the Dilbert guy. I've been wanting to read this book that he wrote called God's Debris. I'm just putting it here just because you reminded me of it, because he's responding to this tweet from Sam Altman, the AI guy. He says, "We now see a path where the superintelligence that emerges is not just the capability of our single biggest neural network, but in billions of AI-assisted humans." And God is saying that this is kind of what his book is about, I guess. Which yeah, it's been on my list for a while. I should read it this year. But
when you mention that, it seems like the ebb and flow of things flow to the in the path of least resistance. So it's like I sit here thinking sometimes, where does Dero fit into that?
sure.
Well, I mean, if you get a whole society that's running around trying to kill itself, latching onto anything that it can that it doesn't like, and just biting it, eating it, chewing it, hitting it, doing everything that it can to push down anything that sticks out that it doesn't like in a meta sense, you know. There's there's like pockets within this whole thing that I don't know I don't know how else to describe it. Ghost in the machine. Things just flow on their own into the spaces that it wants to occupy, whether any human wants that or not as an individual. And what happens when you create this new pocket that you can enter in a psychological sense or binary sense that you don't have to leave and you have your freedom within that pocket. Like you would think that pocket would just continuously expand and live it like infinitely to get away from itself, sort of thing. There's some canon in the cyberpunk story that I always like. There was like this big digital war that happened, and the whole cyberspace after this war became what they called the land of the demons, which is like the old internet, and nobody lives in there anymore. It's just all these demons and virtual crap that does its own shit that nobody wants anymore, you know? And it seems like we're kind of like, when you look at all the chaos in the world, it seems like people are moving their digital mind, their avatar mind at the internet into new spaces where they don't have to sit there and deal with that abrasion anymore. You know? It goes beyond just privacy to me. I think it's like
How so?
like when you in the spaces, people talking lately about the chilling effects of surveillance and stuff like that. But I think it goes quite a bit beyond that, at least in the digital space, because surveillance can only exist in a transparent space, right? So by introducing surveillance to a transparent space, you kind of you make the unsurveillable space an inevitable endpoint for everybody's mental avatar on the internet, you know. So what happens to a copy of everybody's behavior on the internet that's left behind in the open space? It's still there, right? So, but it's no longer attached to the person in real time. It's just like a ghost of their past.
Well, I'm not sure if this
but it's
is
still there doing stuff.
You just made me think of something I saw the other day. This I don't know if you know this guy, some guy on Twitter, Soulbra, one of these influencers. He's like likes to sun his balls and stuff like that. You know, one of those guys. Yeah, I like him. And I just saw he tweeted the other day. He's got like a clone of himself that you can talk to. It's like he's like training AI to talk like him and like respond to things the way he would. And so I mean I don't know if that's just what you made me think of when you're talking about like ghosts of ourselves like active on the old internet. I don't know where Soulbra is headed, but it seems like wherever he's headed, he is leaving behind this ghost of himself that's like a AI replica that you can talk with. Kind of interesting.
But in that sense, these these representations of our old selves or whatever gets built with that data, like AI models or whatever, they're it seems to me like they'll always be fundamentally a ghost of our past because we move on into a path of least resistance, you know? It's just so weird because it can, whatever that is can't come with us. So there's like this hard disconnect when you're moving into encrypted space. If the more things get built in that space, the more infrastructure that
Right.
exists, the more connections that are made, the less and less real
This is
representations of us will exist in the old space. But the old space won't go away. It'll kind of be there forever. So to me, it goes beyond like just thinking about people's lives being manipulated and stuff like that because of their data being exploited. Whatever that manipulation is kind of turning into like it's literally a ghost. It isn't really you
that
anymore.
is a
So does
very
it really
interesting
affect
take.
you? I don't know. It's like this simulation. It's like this simulation of shit that doesn't exist anymore. And in order to like if you wanted to leave your private space and move back into that space, you kind of
Mhm,
occupy a ghost that used to be you, but it isn't you anymore.
mhm.
And the world these days attributes the real you to that ghost. They don't because the rest is unknowable, right?
Right.
So it's like all this friction that we feel in society these days, it's friction of in that sense. It isn't really us, it isn't really people. It's friction between these fake
Mhm.
avatars that are the culmination of our data that was left
Right.
behind, you know? So like
Right.
when I talk to you,
Right.
Apollo, I'm not
Yeah.
in my head, I think that I'm addressing you
Right. Right.
in your real life, but I'm
This is
actually
now you're
addressing
also.
your
I
ghost.
keep thinking of tweets. I think I'm on Twitter too much, but I well, it's really an article. I'm gonna try and find it for the links as well, because yeah, I read this article about like how what was it, World of Warcraft is becoming more and more like a one-player game, and it was talking about how like, for instance, if you're with a party, um, fighting some. I don't know. I've never played the game, but what you're like in a dungeon with some people fighting some creatures. Apparently, it'll do this thing where it will equalize like let's say your friend is like level 100 and you're level 2. It will simulate on your computer like a level 2, like it'll make it seem that you're the same level. So like your experience will be easier, like it'll be like a level 2 difficulty, and your friend will be harder, and he'll see you like defeating these monsters in a very difficult way, but it's like just simulating, like it's like he's not actually seeing what you're seeing. So you're both in your own little worlds that catered towards your skill level. But you both feel as if you are on the same level doing the same thing together, but you're both just having these like simulations of each other. So it's like more, I guess, one player in that sense, but it's also like, yeah, what you're saying, like you're not you're not really playing with the other person in the way that you think you are. And he goes on to say that this is like social media is like the same kind of way. Like I'll try and find it for you. It's a nice article, but exactly, yeah. Um, yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of going along with what I'm feeling, man. Yeah, and everybody has this picture in their head that their relationships with people
Mm-hmm.
online are
Mm-hmm.
are are, are they people think that they interface in such a way that reflects reality, but it doesn't, you know. And over a long period of time, you basically psychologically broken everybody by doing that, because nobody has a real scale of anything in their life anymore because everything's fake, you know. And like,
I think
even if you walk out, this is what I was getting at with the whole private space thing. Like, if you migrate your life into this new space where this fakery and this surveillance and meta crap doesn't exist, then your avatar is still there. Like you're saying in the game. Like, say you could take a character offline and go live a real life. Just then in the real life, things are not going to be the way that you expected because the game so far was fake.
Yeah.
Right. So there's like this harsh reality of making that move to be a human again, you know? And I think we're dealing with that in a lot of different ways. Like, all over the world, the entire world is dealing with that. And with people being generally unable to separate the two things because they're being told that they are the same thing. And they spend so much time in that space that they
I hear you. Yeah, and it's this
between the two
massive experiment.
So their mode of operating is,
you know, like, we haven't done.
They're imprisoned
this
by
before.
their ghost.
It's very strange,
you know.
But yeah, it's part of what I'm excited about for Nonsense. I think you are too, about like just, you know, hanging out in real life with each other and getting to know each other as humans, and I think that's going to be good for our community.
Big time. I think even if that's all that happened, that was the only thing that happened, I think it's probably the best thing that could possibly happen. Isn't it weird how people are scared of that? That's what I'm saying. It's like everybody knows it's there, but they don't want to engage with it. This is what I was kind of trying to hint at with the Twitter crap earlier. People are scared.
I think we live in a tangible realm where everything boils down to the tangible, the physical. You can do anything you want intangibly, digitally, online, and it means not for someone in your face. That's kind of my thoughts on this in a nutshell. Is what we're witnessing is the effects of taking a physical being and you're trying to twist them into something that is not physical, when all of the laws that we respect are of this tangible realm. Like, we're physical, basically. This is a physical realm. It's everything you think, everything you do, everything you stand for counts for naught in this realm, because someone will just come and physically attack you and end you. In this realm, this earth, we're never going to get away from the fact that physicality dominates, and it dominates us. We are physical creatures. We must be tangibly in each other's, based on evidence of the history of mankind. We act and are better when we are together physically. And that's just a reflection of where we are. We're on this thing called Earth. There are laws about it that we have learned over the history. You step off a curb in front of a bus, the bus is going to hit you. That's it. That's the law of this place. So yeah, I think about it, you know, bit sort of in that direction, where I do see the digital as just a deviation from a realm that is not digital. It's analog.
Yeah, I think that's another kind of, take on it is I think, there's these people who want to upload their consciousness and stuff. I think there's this desire to escape that realm, the physical realm, right? They want to transcend matter. They want to transcend the limitations of their bodies, and they want to live forever and all that kind of stuff. And I think
So the question I have regarding that is, does digital rely on man-made devices? Are there cables under the sea? Can you get rid of the cables under the sea? Do you have transmitters that transmit information digitally over waves? What are those transmitters man-made? Do they need to be maintained? This is what I'm talking about. The realm we live in, Earth, is not man-made. That's why we can respect the laws, because they are credibly neutral. So where are you uploading it to? Like, what is uploading? We're in a physical realm. What is it? How is it going to last forever? Does it need to be maintained? Is it a creation of man, or is it not? That is the fundamental question for me. And so I think we've created this. This is a creation of man currently, because all of the infrastructure is maintained by man. So it has to be. I suppose seeing how that progresses into the future, I don't know, but it's I suppose bringing it back to blockchain is it's all about trust and trust in man-made systems and not and removing man from the things you use.
Yeah, that's an interesting way to think of it. Like if you go down this uploading route, then your entire existence is 100% trusted to someone else.
That's it.
What does it mean? That's what uploading to where? A server? Well, who maintains that server? God? Something we don't know? No. We made the server. Man. That's what I'm talking about. We cannot get away from where we are, which is Earth. And you get away from it, look, the minds get broken. The people get broken. Principle, moral, it loses meaning when there's no physical punishment. There's no repercussions. In a physical realm, there must be physical repercussions for the actions. And this is what it strays. This is where digital pulls us away from. And this is why you see people act as if they do. And you think online, you would never speak to me like that in my face. So, yeah, we're seeing the consequences of straying from the tangible in a tangible realm. If this wasn't a tangible realm, if we were all just vibrations, cool. If we never saw each other physically, sweet. We'd probably all be happy. But we do. And our whole history of mankind has been tangible physical interaction. And the things that we don't see, we don't understand. Why do when I yawn, you yawn?
Yeah, and if you're also in this whole virtual space thing, that you're also, by being present and choosing to identify with that avatar that is you, the representation of you in the data, is you're trusting the entire world to such an extreme degree to not use that against you in a, which is ridiculous in the first place, because it's not even an accurate representation of you. It's fake. It's a culmination of points of data based on whatever criteria someone else wanted to store of you. And then everybody else assumes that is you, and then treats you in the tangible realm according to this fake data that's accrued on you. I think unless we make a concerted effort to open the door into this private space, we probably won't last another 20 years, because we're all gonna just dissolve cognitively and be absolutely incapable of interfacing with other humans. It just kind of look.
There we go. So can you see the digital as the ultimate attack on mankind?
See, I'm not entirely convinced that that this modern phenomenon of data of data storing is an attack, in versus probably being a mistake for sure. We went down the wrong road for so long that it takes like a complete reversal of rebuilding the entire internet from where it was at a point 20 years ago to open this new door where we can learn how to fucking be humans again. But I don't think it's an attack. I think it's being used as an attack by people that are capable of attacking with it. But I don't think that was the original attempt, obviously.
Yeah, I suppose the basic concept that any tool and anything is neither good nor evil. It just depends on how it's used.
Yeah, and how it is being used is absolutely an attack. Yeah.
I had a philosophy professor who argued that, the ancients, they didn't build all the technology that we built, not because they, weren't capable, but just because they were wiser than us and didn't want to unleash the demon out, let the genie out the bottle or whatever. And it does feel to me like that is kind of what has happened. Is just there's kind of this force that's beyond the control, kind of what you were saying earlier, Azylem. Like it's just this thing that's kind of beyond the control of any person at this point. It's just like, once it's unleashed, it's just gonna, keep on doing what it's doing, keep on growing and stuff.
It's like a dark cloud looming over a species. All data. Dark, monstrous cloud of data.
Yeah, and the funny thing is it's all controlled by man.
That begs the question: is things that man do, just because man did it, does that mean it's not naturally occurring?
No, so okay, lovely. So I think time and cycles, when you an observation, right? When you observe something to happen again and again and again, and you multiply it against time, it happens again and again over a long amount of time. That's what we call law. That's like a natural law. That's something that we can just observe and we can say happens. This will happen. You step off a curb in front of a bus, the bus will hit you. I completely forgot how I started
he's
that.
asking about
where I was going.
man-made things being natural or not.
Yeah, like if you step away from the belief that if you step off the curb and the bus will hit you, well, then now you're in this mode of operating that is incompatible with reality.
Right. Yeah. So I suppose for me that just comes down to knowledge and defining what knowledge is.
Yeah, well, like if the more we migrate into this bad space of operating, I would call it, the more people's behaviors adjust to the dynamics of that space versus real space, and their beliefs change based on trends in that space, which keeps pushing individuals down a road that where their minds are wired for a space that is not real space. And what happens when they have to step out into real space for a moment? They get hit by a bus, because buses don't kill you in the other space where you spend 99% of your time, and you're not wired for that anymore.
Yeah.
So we're in this like transition zone where some of us like like the cyberpunks, for example, maybe the rest of the world would view our resistance to wanting to continue in that space as kind of a social virus, for example, because in a sense, we kind of are a social virus in context of that, I guess, if that's what's expected of society, then I mean, if that's the way they were going to be viewed by the world, even though the world needs to know this stuff or else, then that would kind of I don't know. It's like waves and cycles. Like these thought patterns, they propagate through society in waves. They come up and then they fade away, then and they come up again and they fade away, and slowly but surely, the real people, not the ghosts, continue learning and moving away from it in any capacity that they can, because they haven't forgotten that the bus will kill you if you step off the curb, right? But when you keep introducing younger people to this this space, they don't learn these things, you know.
Right. So this is the transition that I suppose you're talking about, and it's everything. And I have this thing pop up into my mind right now, and it reminds me about Dero, and we don't see Dero as or as like an investment. It's a tool. It's a tool for your protection, your freedom. And I feel like this is where the subversion is in this internet, in this digital realm that's come up, is we see it as it's a tool. Dero's cool, lovely investment, and line your pockets, but it's a tool at the end of the day. Whereas it seems like as time goes on, this digital realm is trying to be pushed on you as life itself, which is not just a tool, which it should only be in a tangible realm. And that, I suppose, just try and sum up that transition. I think that's it. We're in this, and we need to remember that these things are tools. They're not life itself, because as you will step off the curb and in front of a bus, and you forgot that the bus, it's physical and it hits you.
Well, if it is a tool, then it goes beyond just a monetary tool. It's a tool that rebases reality.
Because man makes tools, right? Isn't that what makes us man? All right, we created it. Man makes tools. Anything from the hand of man is tool.
And there's a lot more going on in that tool space than just money. I mean, bits of information being passed that are outside of the surveillance domain. Think about that for a second. That's like your brain shooting out neurons out the side of your head, and building this little microcosm on the side of your face that operates independently from what's inside your head. Right? It's just, you can think of it, which I guarantee you, like the powers that be would think of that as like a tumor. But really what we're doing is like building outside of the existing system something that the rest of the system can migrate into. It's a new space, you know? And the fact that it has never happened before, I think when somebody is first confronted with a full view of what's going on, they're terrified of it, because they know something's wrong, but they can't quite put their finger on it, you know? But it's happening, whether they like that or not. And the longer they wait to embrace these ideas, the more it's gonna hurt when they step off that curb. Yeah, that's what I think
Nerd.
about Bigfoot, I guess. Things we don't understand.
Wonderful.
There's clearly things we don't understand. We can all see that, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I suppose then just to juxtapose what I'm saying against there are things we don't understand. So what I suppose I'm saying is and there are things we
Yeah.
do understand.
Mm.
And that is our base. That's our reference. You can't know anything without a reference. You need to reference against something. Well, the something mankind references against is the things that was here before us. The things that are replicable against time. All right. Let me ask you: if the sun did not rise and set every day, what's time?
Yeah. Does anything else exist if it stopped?
Okay, so exactly. So what's time? How do you measure time? You need a cycle.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Reference
Mhm.
point. Yeah.
So let's say the sun disappears tomorrow. How do you tell time?
You don't. But that's the thing. We also know that the sun won't disappear tomorrow. So that's one of those constants that we can use as a reference point, right?
It's the
Right.
only constant in this realm. It's the only thing that the entire earth depends on.
Right.
It's the only cycle.
I think what you're trying to say is when we talk about these things to people, we have to understand that their core center reference point may be where maybe in a space that is not grounded in reality in the real. And the problem isn't debating reality with them. The problem is they've been deceived. And the second you challenge that, they'll blame you for it. So it's like one of those things. How do you even bring this up to people and talk and try to open a conversational pathway to some kind of realization in their head when
Well, you know,
when they're fundamentally based in a space that isn't compatible with reality. You know, they chalk it up to politics. They chalk it up to belief. I don't think I don't think beliefs have anything to do with it. In fact, I think beliefs are probably the problem in, in that scenario. You know.
well, yeah, exactly. That's not fundamental. A belief is not knowledge. So the fact that people think they can rely on beliefs and not just keep them as a belief is an issue. But this is down to education. This is down to defining words for yourself. I thought of this the other day. If English is your native language, have you only ever been told from another man or woman the definitions of words, hearsay? How many people have defined all the words they use for themselves? Unlike someone who English is not their native language. When they speak, you hear them and they're like, wow, you're a great speaker. You're so fundamental. Because they've actually had to learn and define like each word that they're using. So yeah, it's that's just something I thought of the other day. But yeah, you'll hear me when you hear me speak. It's only over a handful of things I'll ever bang on about. You know, it'll just because I've like to think that there's only so many fundamental concepts. Like everything's built off of the foundation. So if you spend your time just studying the foundation, you'll be cool. You don't really need to study the things built on it because you'll always be able to understand them because you understand the foundation. So this is why I always try and stick to fundamentals. I'll always say that, like, just define basic words like knowledge, belief, context, time, cycles. You know, you'll just bounce these same things around, and you'll find they just explain the entire realm that we live in. And with that, I seem to then be able to understand everything else. So it's just like it's just like education. It's you can think, but I suppose it's teaching people how to think, which then goes into the education system. Like the classical education is completely different to today, right? Today they teach you, they give you the fish, whereas education used to be they taught you how to fish, right? They taught you how to think. They didn't tell you what to think. And like this goes into education methods like the trivium and the quadrivium. They're just fundamental ways of thinking. This is the source of the actual, an issue with people, is how to think. Just basic things like this, defining words. Words have meaning. What's the quote from Philip K. Dick? The easiest way to control the people is you control the language they use. Obviously. It's the words. You always communicate with words. Define them. Be accurate with them. Know what you're saying. This is fundamental. This is what I like to get into.
So that big question, can humans exist without a story?
Yes, because they make the story.
But if the story isn't shared, then the rules that they're playing by and interacting with are agreed to. So I guess what I'm really asking is, did we break the story? And is that the problem? If it is, well, then that would necessitate a rewrite, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Basically, I'd say
restoring from a past Dave session.
In other words, we've forgotten what is fundamental. We strayed from these basic concepts.
And I think the only way that we can rediscover what is fundamental in a digital sense is if we leave the ghosts behind and move into that new space, the private space.
Whilst treating it as a tool and remembering that it is always intangible in a tangible realm.
Well, I like this. It's the most fun chat I've had yet.
You see, like looking at this screen, do you think your eyes were designed to look at SMDs and LEDs, which are a creation of man? Or do you think they were designed to look at the thing that's not a creation of man, which is the sun?
Easy answer to that.
So what
easy
are
answer
you
to that
doing?
question. If you look at a picture of a forest, does it feel the same way as it does if you're in the forest by yourself looking at it? No.
There we go. We can never escape the tangible. We are in a tangible realm. I hit this desk. You're never going to get away from me hitting this desk. No matter what you say or do, or even, unfortunately, even think. This is why we have war. Nothing intangible matters, ultimately.
The only real way to make the tangible be the center of everybody's attention again is if our digital presence becomes private and stops being so distracting. You see where I'm going with that? There's too much noise, too much crap, too much stuff that isn't real. Too many assumptions on hearsay on other people's data, so to speak, like you said. In the same way as people being able to redefine words and controlling language to manipulate people, you can do the exact same thing with data, which has been happening. Like, for example, if you could ask the internet what is Azylem, the answer is something that is weird as fuck. It's not me, whatever the hell that is, right? But if everybody believes that fabrication and that tweaking of the meaning of the words and the meaning of the data, then everybody is living in a space that isn't reality, and that bus is going to hit them at some point. Well, I don't know. I don't know how else to think about this
Yeah.
stuff. Like it's
No, that's brilliant, really. And you, let me use myself as an example. I've only ever I didn't do computers. I never done none of this intangible digital stuff before a few years ago. So I hope people can see that I try and present myself as a representation of the tangible. I just stick to these fundamental concepts because I know they are what works in reality, the one that I grew up in and lived in physically. And now I've molded to you in this intangible realm, and I've tried to not break. I've kept my mind, and now I want to try and bridge that. This exact topic is very major to me. That's why I like. So I'm quite passionate about it. It's So yeah, that's why I'm a bit like what I'm like, because I live in reality. I like to think I know what's what. um, and it's been so interesting me coming to this digital world, because it's like it's a recreation of the physical. Like the logic is the same. Like it's, how can I explain this? Like I've just seen so many. I don't know. I've seen just so many similarities. Like when I think about how code works, the logic translates from the tangible to the intangible in this kind of sense, and that's so intriguing to me. So I've just found this whole space and coming into it really interesting, and then the fact that blockchain touches on these topics, like reliance on man-made things, that's really fundamental. It seems to be forgotten, but that's the whole point of blockchain. Well, one of the major points of blockchain is trustless, removing trust. We want to remove trust in man, and the best way we can do that.
well, anybody listen to this episode, I challenge you to think about these subjects in a bigger sense, because they do apply to everybody's life, and not everybody's involved in the dialogue, and maybe everybody should be. Maybe there should be like a societal expression of repulsion, like not being scared. There's
Your life will be better.
this thing is a problem for all of us to solve, everybody. So, at some point, either we get on board with that, or we give into it. And I'm not sure that I would. I'm not sure that I ever would give into it. So, in that sense, maybe I'm the enemy of whatever that is.
You'd be giving into not being real, right? And maybe that's what makes the strong people online. Maybe that's why we're here and we're talking, because us three here, as an example, maybe we've deviated least from the physical when we come online. We try to maintain ourselves for who we know we are, and that comes through somehow the screen online. It comes through, and then you can see these people.
It isn't hard to get a read on
I don't
some
know.
of these speech
Cool
patterns
ideas.
or their thought patterns through their text that they're typing. You can tell pretty quickly if they're based in reality or not. Anyways, nice chat.
Yeah.
What do you think, Apollo? Any closing thoughts?
Yeah. Any closing thoughts? Well,
Paulo, I'm sure you loved some of that rant. Come on. I'm sure I touched on loads of
oh yeah.
ideas
So I guess
and
maybe
subjects. You were like, holy,
maybe we are Bigfoot.
what's he saying?
Yeah, I guess we
Maybe, exactly. Maybe we are Bigfoot, Apollo. Is that why you asked the question? Is that what you've already come to this conclusion?
Wow. Yeah. Very good. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, that was completely philosophical, really. Jesus.
Funny
Nothing
because I
to do
think it
with
has
Dero
everything to do with that.
nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, good chat. Good chat, guys. Yeah. Yeah, no, there's stuff I could add, but we can talk more another time. This has been good. Yes, Bigfoot. We found him. We
Those
found
who
him
have
in ourselves at
observed
the end.
Bigfoot
Beautiful.
know it is true.
Yeah, thank you guys.
It's up to them to convince a jury of their peers. And that's how
That's
knowledge
true.
works in this
I've
realm.
asked
We have
a lot of
courts,
people.
right? And
Yes.
for most of you, what a lot of you consider knowledge or you treat as fact is actually just what a jury of your peers were convinced of.
Yep.
So a lot of what you rely on as fact is man-made. Crazy. Court decisions are facts in this realm, in the legal system, should I say. And we treat the legal system as real.
Well, some people go deeper than that, and they really think that reality is constructed by, a culmination of belief. Like if enough people believe it actually is real. That's what I think Hermes subscribes to that sometimes. He subscribes to lots of different things different times. But sometimes he says, like peer-to-peer reality, that we each have our own reality, but then as a culmination, like, so if enough people did
That's
truly
not much
believe in
different
Bigfoot,
from
then
a
he would be real.
blockchain,
I
really.
think
We're
he
all
believes something like
nodes,
that sometimes.
and we're all making our own assessments on the same data.
Exactly, right.
That's based on a protocol overload. So that was my question about the story. Is the protocol the story?
Mm-hmm.
It might be
Exactly.
the narrative.
Based on their actions, they adverts, what the seeds that they plant in the minds of people, they believe that. By I mean,
I guess to further the blockchain analogy, one thing I would say is like I personally don't really care if everybody, takes a hard fork. Like I think if we're just a side chain, that's fine with me. You know what I mean? Like I don't think I'm not waiting. I'm not trying to teach anybody I am with the course, but I'm not trying to change the
I'm not
world.
sure we
I think
have to. That's what I was
if
getting
it's
at
just
by
you,
the whole path of
if it's
least
just us
resistance
and our
thing.
friends, like, yeah.
If people want to survive, yes.
Oh, like you think it will just happen inevitably?
Murphy's Law. Anything that can happen will happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to envision like a sort of the bifurcated future of like different pockets, and some people maybe they'll just live in the pod, but
No PUD for me.
I think
A future where
we
people
will
do
not
what they
live in the
want to
pod.
do. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Well, yeah, whatever. Yeah, and maybe that's just what they were told that they want to do, and that's what they want.
But yeah,
I don't mind walking through a garden of pods and looking at everybody else. That doesn't bother me that much.
Yeah, on my way to my
exactly.
house with a grass and a lovely garden with
Exactly.
flowers in it.
Right. Right. Exactly. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Thank you, gentlemen. Always a pleasure to have each of you on. Is this the first time we were all together?
Well, apart from the Nonsensus podcast,
sure.
I believe so.
On Kalina's. Are we gonna have a? Is this official, or is there gonna be a Dirty Dero Daily at
Well, yeah,
Nonsensus?
why not? You may.
Why not?
Are we doing that?
Well, let's do it. I
Okay,
think you're already on the
I'd love
schedule.
to. I've been wanting to have
Yeah.
an in-person one
So it's
forever. I think that'd be
You
so
planned
fun.
it already, right? It's good. You got all your questions written down.
Is it?
Love.
Okay, cool.